Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the fanfiction guy. Back with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What If Deku Becomes a Ghost God? Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Izuku, the one and only, finds himself transformed into a poltergeist in this story. With his new abilities, he discovers a range of powers associated with being a spirit. Powers: elemental manipulation. He can control the elements of water, earth, fire, air, and their sub-elements. Immortality. He possesses endless life and stops aging. Ghost manipulation. Izuku can create, manipulate, and influence ghosts and their energies, instilling fear in others and using spirits to create chaos. He can also control the souls of the departed. Soul energy constructs. He can turn soul energy into tools, objects, and weapons, creating semi-living constructs and structures of varying permanence. Soul restoration. Izuku has the ability to restore and return souls to those who have lost them. Soul speed. He can project his spirit and move it to a different place, with his physical body following almost instantly. Empathy. He can interpret the emotions and moods of others without needing to observe apparent symptoms, allowing him to understand deeper feelings and use this knowledge in interactions. Spirit reading. Izuku can perceive and read souls, whether they are free or bound to a body. He can study their nature and find weaknesses based on his observations. Soul mutilation. He can inflict significant damage to an opponent's soul, impacting their physical form as well. This ability can leave lasting effects on the spiritual being. Healing. He can restore living beings to their optimal health, curing wounds, broken bones, and ailments. Reincarnation. Izuku can escape death by being reborn in another body or possessing a newborn body. If he possesses another body, he gains the physical abilities of the host, along with their challenges. Divided mind. If the personalities are distinct, he can manage them separately. Past life awareness. He retains memories, experiences, and powers from his past lives. Past life power access. He can access any powers he had in previous lives. Death sense. Izuku can sense impending death, determining when someone is dead or dying. Resurrection. He has the ability to bring himself and others back to life. Meta-resurrection. He can resurrect himself or others regardless of their state, ensuring they can be revived without fail. Telekinesis. He can move objects of various sizes and even float or fly at increased speeds using his mind. Possession. Izuku can inhabit or take over the bodies of other beings, controlling their motor functions and senses. Voice manipulation. He can manipulate his voice to imitate sounds or adjust its tone. Enhanced scream. His powerful voice can create vibrations strong enough to break objects or instill fear. Paralysis inducement. He can immobilize targets, leaving them unable to move or feel. Voice projection. Izuku can project his voice from a distance, making it seem as if he is speaking from elsewhere. Ghost physiology. He can transform into a ghost, bound to stay until certain conditions are met, such as unfinished business. Intangibility. He can move through solid objects and ignore most physical effects. Invisibility. Izuku can render himself unseen, moving about without being observed. Shape-shifting. He can change his form at will, allowing him to impersonate others or enhance his own body for various purposes. With these powers at his disposal, Izuku embarks on a journey filled with challenges and adventures, navigating the spirit world while discovering the true extent of his abilities. Izuku's POV. Why has it come to this? After everything I've been through dealing with the taunts, the abuse, the ridicule from my classmates, the bullying, and the refusal to get the answers I sought from the one person who was supposed to give me hope in this darkness I hated. Now, I find myself falling from a building after my former childhood friend decided we should talk. He attacked me until I couldn't move, smirking wickedly as he unleashed his explosive quirk at point-blank range. The force sent me tumbling back, and as I fell, he laughed. I didn't care about the pain. All I felt was anger, frustration, and a deep-seated hatred for this corrupted society. I refused to die here. When I hit the pavement, I felt my bones crack, and though it hurt, I let out a scream that echoed my vow. I swear I will make Katsuki Bakugo pay, and you so-called heroes will feel nothing but pain. Do you hear me? As darkness began to close in, I felt my consciousness slipping away. In my fading vision, I saw a silhouette rushing toward me, trying to call out, but I could barely hear anything. The last thing I noticed was the silhouette's eyes before everything went black. Nobody's POV. After the night of Izuku's attempt to escape his pain, we see Inko Midoriya, his mother, lying in a hospital bed. Nurses with minor healing quirks were tending to her, and it was a miracle that he survived the fall. Inko was grateful that someone had called for an ambulance. Without that help, her son might not have made it. She held onto his hand, hoping for him to wake up, listening to the steady beeping of the heart monitor. Suddenly, she felt a light squeeze, and when she looked down, her heart soared. Her baby boy was waking up. Overcome with emotion, she cried and hugged him tightly. Izuku, I'm so glad you're okay. Please, don't scare me like that again. Izuku let his mother continue to cry, but he felt nothing, no emotion on his face, which only deepened her concern. Please tell me you're okay. He looked at her and nodded slowly. Don't worry, Mom. I'll be fine. But his tone was flat, as if he had already given up on everything. Before Inko could express her worries further, the door opened, and in walked the person who had called the ambulance. Izuku recognized her immediately. You were the one who saved me. I'm very thankful, he said, bowing his head slightly. It's the least I could do, she replied, her voice devoid of emotion. Inko felt it was best to leave, wanting to give Izuku space to be himself. She thanked the girl for her help and stepped out. Let me introduce myself. My name is Reiko Yanagi. Reiko had chin-length, pale gray hair that hung over one eye, and dark bags under her blue eyes. She often held her hands up as if in a ghostly gesture. Izuku felt compelled to know more about her. Do you believe in ghosts? Reiko pondered the question and replied that she wanted to believe they existed. This sparked something in Izuku, a connection he couldn't quite explain. They continued talking, getting to know each other, unaware of how late it had. A nurse eventually informed Reiko that visiting hours were over, but she exchanged phone numbers with Izuku so they could stay in touch. 2 weeks later, Izuku was back home, sitting in a lotus position. His mother was out, leaving him alone in the apartment. The reason he wasn't at school was simple. He was smart enough to get into any hero school, but he simply didn't care anymore. He tried to show some enthusiasm for his mother's sake, which she appreciated. Izuku still felt a strange connection to something beyond this world. When he opened his eyes, he was shocked to see his own body still breathing. This is incredible, being able to leave my own body and become a spirit. So this is the power I've been given. Katsuki Bakugo, your words have awakened something within me that is more powerful than any quirk. Determined, Izuku returned to his body and grabbed a brand new notebook. On the first page he wrote, Ghost Theory. User, Izuku Midoriya. His eyes sparkled with determination as he began to write. My emotions may be locked away, but I still harbor resentment towards my idol and the other heroes who have become corrupted. In time, I will see if they can change. If not, they will be haunted by me for all eternity. They can instill fear in the hearts of others, summon spirits to create chaos, and influence the souls of the departed. Soul energy constructs. Users can transform soul energy into tools, objects, weapons, and other items, creating semi-living constructs or structures of varying permanence. Soul restoration. The user can restore and return souls to those who have lost them through various means. Soul speed. The user can project or detach their astral form, allowing them to move to a different location almost instantly, with their physical body following closely behind. Empathy. The user can deeply interpret the emotions, moods, and temperaments of others without needing to observe visible signs. This ability allows them to understand introverts or recognize when one emotion is masking another. They can engage others in a personal and emotional manner, using their insights to influence interactions. Spirit reading. The user can perceive and read souls, whether they are free or embodied. They can study the nature of a soul and identify weaknesses based on their observations. By reading souls, the user can sense characteristics, personality traits, feelings, memories, and the extent of any damage the soul has endured. Soul mutilation. Users can inflict significant spiritual damage on an opponent's soul, which affects their physical form as well. The damage caused is lasting and may lead to the demise of the opponent, potentially harming their soul in the process. Healing. Users can restore living beings to optimal health, curing ailments, wounds, broken bones, and diseases. Reincarnation. The user can escape death by being reborn in another body or by possessing a newly born body. If they possess another body, they gain the host's physical capabilities, along with their drawbacks and social connections. Divided mind. This applies when the personalities are distinct from one another. Past life awareness. The user retains all memories, experiences, wisdom, skills, knowledge, and powers from their past lives. Past life power access. The user can access any abilities they had in previous lives. Death sense. The user can sense the approach of death, determining when someone is dead or dying, or if others have perished in a specific location. Resurrection. The user can bring themselves or others back to life. Meta-resurrection. The user can resurrect themselves or others regardless of their condition, including if they have been erased or destroyed. They can revive targets perfectly every time without fail, and this power cannot be taken away. Telekinesis. The user can move objects of various sizes and can float or fly at increased speeds using their mind. Possession. The user can inhabit or take control of another being's body, whether sentient or not, by commandeering their motor functions and senses. This may require the user to leave their own body. Voice manipulation. The user can manipulate their voice freely, allowing them to imitate sounds of creatures or alter the tone of their voice. Enhanced scream. The user can shout with such intensity that they can break objects or create vibrations. Their roar may be powerful enough to cause fear or temporarily paralyze others, potentially countering opposing attacks. Paralysis inducement. Users can immobilize a target, rendering them unable to move or feel. The victim may freeze in place or collapse. Voice projection. The user can project their voice from a distance, making it seem as though it comes from another location. Ghost physiology. The user can either be a ghost or transform into one, often bound to remain until certain conditions are fulfilled, such as achieving honorable burial or resolving unfinished business. Intangibility. The user can move through solid objects and bypass most physical effects. Invisibility. The user can render themselves unseen, moving about an environment without being observed. Shape-shifting. Users can change their form at will, potentially altering their genetic and cellular structure. They can impersonate others or enhance their body for combat by transforming into animals, humanoids, or monsters, or by making the body stronger. Unfortunately, he wouldn't be able to use them immediately and needed to train both his body and mind to harness as much of his powers as possible. The only powers he could currently use were ghost physiology, telekinesis, intangibility, immortality, invisibility, and possession. These abilities seemed to cause less strain on his body and spiritual form. He continued being homeschooled, spending time talking with Reiko. During his walks, he often saw spirits floating around and sometimes engaged in conversations with them, listening to their stories. This continued for over 2 months. One evening, Izuku was helping his mom prepare dinner, mentioning that they would have guests soon. He nodded and set the table, then began to float using his telekinesis. Inko, Izu, I know you're excited about your quirk, but please try to use it sparingly. Izuku nodded and landed back on the ground. He felt a wave of emotion as the doorbell rang. When he opened the door, he felt a flash of anger. Hey, Izu-chan. It's great to see you again. I hope you're doing okay, said Mitsuki Bakugo, a friend of Izuku's mom from high school. Alongside her was her husband, Masaru Bakugo, who greeted Izuku with a nervous smile. The last person there was Katsuki Bakugo, who glared at Izuku. Izuku maintained an emotionless expression. Izuku, it's nice to see you again, auntie, uncle. Why don't you come in? Izuku let them inside and walked toward his mom, who greeted the Bakugos. Mitsuki caught up with Inko while Masaru and Katsuki took a seat on the couch, leaving Izuku to walk back to his mom. As time passed, Izuku quietly enjoyed his meal, ignoring Katsuki's glares. The parents of the two were unaware of the tension between the boys and continued their conversation until it grew late. Izuku stepped outside to gaze at the stars when he felt a grip on his shoulders. "Katsuki, how? How are you still alive?" Izuku ignored him, which only fueled Katsuki's anger. "Katsuki, I'm talking to you, you nerd." Instead of responding, Izuku suddenly pushed Katsuki back, causing him to hit the ground hard. Katsuki groaned in pain, but then he felt a strange pressure around his throat. Looking up, he saw Izuku with an unsettling expression. "Izuku, you're nothing but deadweight, Katsuki." Izuku smiled, but it was a smile that sent a chill down Katsuki's spine. Suddenly he was released and gasped for air. When he heard his mom calling for him, he turned to find Izuku had vanished. Gathering his strength, he walked toward his parents, but when he glanced back, he felt a cold sweat as he saw Izuku staring at him, a shadow looming behind him. "Izuku, soon, I'll find a way to end this, Katsuki." Izuku's POV. After that tense night with the Bakugas, I walked through the park with Reiko, who excitedly shared stories about the supernatural. Suddenly, she paused and suggested they grab something to eat, which I agreed to. We took a seat on a bench, enjoying the sounds of children playing nearby. Reiko, "Hey, Izuku, have you ever thought about becoming a hero? It's okay if you don't want to answer." I stared at her, contemplating my response. "Izuku, honestly, I don't think I want to pursue being a hero." Reiko looked worried and held my hand, which I tightened in response. "Izuku, after everything that happened at my old school, the mocking, the bullying, the torment, and the false hope, I don't think I can face that again." I suddenly stopped, sensing a wave of impending tragedy. I looked ahead, feeling the pain that would soon befall others. Releasing Reiko's hand, I turned to her. "Izuku, I need to stay here. I'll be right back." "Reiko, is something wrong?" I reassured her that everything was fine and gave her a quick kiss on the cheek, causing her to blush. Before she could respond, I was already gone. Once I left Reiko, I felt a tightness in my chest, sensing the pain of those in danger. My eyes, once a vibrant green, now glowed a lifeless red. I exhaled a cold breath. "Izuku, time to find some souls to collect." With that thought, my appearance shifted. My casual look transformed into a dark cloak that concealed my face. I willed my scythe away for now and activated my invisibility to reach my destination. The scene unfolded at a towering building engulfed in flames, debris raining down and causing chaos. Heroes worked tirelessly to evacuate civilians, while paramedics rushed to assist. Just when they thought everyone was safe, screams erupted from within the building. The heroes realized they needed backup, but the fire was growing increasingly unstable. Suddenly, a cloaked figure floated toward the building, exuding an aura that sent shivers down the spines of those present. "Disappointment fills me, no matter what I see," the figure sighed, raising a hand to stabilize the building and guiding the remaining civilians to safety. With a wave, the figure summoned a torrent of water, extinguishing the flames. As they descended, ready to check on the rescued civilians, one of the heroes reprimanded the figure. "Hey, do you think this is a game? You could have made things worse." The figure simply walked away, ignoring the hero's anger. "Hey, I'm talking to you." The hero was suddenly lifted into the air, feeling a tight grip around his throat. Those who witnessed the scene gasped in fear, shouting about the villain, prompting the heroes to take defensive positions. The dark figure let out a sigh and brandished his scythe. "I thought I wouldn't need this. Turns out I was wrong. I've seen your emotions. Your thoughts. You disgust me." With a swift motion, the dark figure struck at the hero, causing everyone to scream in horror. The other heroes rushed in to confront the villain, but they froze when they met his gaze, feeling as though they were being crushed under the weight of his presence. Just as the figure prepared to finish them off, the police arrived, guns drawn, ordering him to drop his weapon and put his hands behind his head. The figure merely scoffed, "I don't take orders from you." With that, he effortlessly dispatched the heroes present, leaving the police in shock as they fired at him, only to find their bullets had no effect. Before they could react further, the figure vanished, leaving behind a chilling remark, "See you never." The officers were left stunned, and when the other heroes arrived, they were horrified by the scene. Meanwhile, Reiko was enjoying her time while waiting for Izuku. Suddenly, she felt someone hug her from behind, and upon turning around, she sighed in relief to see it was Izuku. "Was that a smile I saw, Miss Emotionless?" he teased. "Like you're one to talk," she replied, a hint of a smile on her face. Izuku nodded in agreement and suggested it was time to head back, to which she nodded. As they walked, Reiko asked why he had left earlier. Izuku explained that he needed to step away since there wasn't a bathroom nearby, and she understood, leaving it at that. Izuku sighed as he looked ahead. "You know, Reiko, maybe you're right." She looked at him curiously. "I'll try to give the hero thing a shot, okay?" She smiled and hugged him. "I'm sure you'll be able to overcome your problems, Izuku. I'll be there for you." Izuku nodded, his eyes reflecting determination. "I won't be a hero. Rules be med. I have my reasons for being here in this world. I'll be waiting for you, All Might, Kaken. I'll take you both down, and no one is going to stop me. No one." Izuku's POV. 8 months have passed since my debut, the one who brought down those pro-heroes. During this time, I've been training my physical body on a beach littered with trash. Reiko occasionally meets me there, but she can't spend much time with me since she still has her studies, and I'm focused on mine as well. People have started calling me death itself, and for months now, I've been eliminating those who don't deserve a second chance, taking away their souls and putting an end to their existence. I've managed to unlock more of my ghostly powers: element manipulation, soul mutilation, death sense, and soul reading. These are the abilities I can access for now. The pro-heroes are struggling to track me down, setting traps that are almost laughable. They think they can stop me, but I have to give them credit for not giving up, even if it's a waste of time. I sighed as I looked at Yue. Once, I would have felt excitement at the sight, but now I only feel disgust. Being around so many ungrateful humans whose souls should be extinguished makes me want to turn back and go home, but my mood soured even more when I heard a familiar voice. "Get out of my way, Deku, if you don't want to be burned." Katsuki Bakugo strode toward me, exuding confidence. As he approached, he glared at me. "You better have your tail between your legs, nerd, because I'll make sure you regret trying to compete with me." After he left, I found myself reflecting on something I should have addressed long ago. Just then, I noticed someone about to hit the pavement. Using my telekinesis, I stopped the person from falling and gently floated them toward me until they landed on their feet. "That would have been a nasty fall for you if I hadn't helped," I said flatly, staring at a brown-haired girl who was short with a slender yet curvaceous figure. She had fair skin with a perpetual blush on her cheeks, large round eyes with warm auburn irises, and shoulder-length hair that framed her face. "Oh, thank you for saving me from a bad omen. But I have to go. I'll see you in the exams." "Bye," she said, waving at me with a bubbly smile that stirred something within me. Her soul felt so innocent, so filled with light, just like Reiko's. Speaking of Reiko, she suddenly wrapped her arms around me from behind, making me turn to see her emotionless expression. "It's nice to see you having a moment with a random girl, Izuku," she remarked. "Do I sense jealousy?" I teased. Reiko let go and walked toward the building, leaving me to wonder if I had said something wrong. After the written exam, everyone took their seats in the auditorium. I tried to focus, but listening to Pro-Hero Present Mike explain the practical part of the exam made me feel drowsy. I wondered when it would end, but then someone interrupted Mick's explanation. One of the examinees stood up, questioning how Yue could make such a mistake regarding the points. He turned toward me. "And you with the curly green hair. Can't you sit quietly? You're distracting everyone with your lack of sleep. If you think Yue is some pleasure trip, then leave." That was just sad. I looked at him without a care in the world, staring into his very soul, which felt tainted. My glare made him go pale until Mike started talking about the 0-pointer, which was worth 0 points. The blue-haired boy took his seat, but I continued to glare at him. After that, everyone headed out for the practical test. To me, this felt like a waste of time, but I promised Reiko I would try. Just then, I felt that same sensation and looked to see the brown-haired girl I had saved. As I was about to walk toward her, I stopped when I saw the same boy who had accused me. That girl seems to be trying to concentrate. Are you here just to sabotage her? I was not in the mood, and I could feel my body beginning to change. Now listen to me, I said, my voice steady. The boy tensed when he heard me, noticing my eyes changing color. I am not in the mood, so why don't you get off your high horse and leave me alone? I turned to head toward the girl, but when I saw the doors open, I sighed and ran forward. Other examinees wondered why I was running, thinking I would be disqualified. Unfortunately, when they heard from Present Mike that there wasn't any countdown, they panicked and started running to gather as many points as they could. I floated in the air, having already taken down a couple of pointers, which brought my score to about 69 points. I didn't care if I didn't make it into the hero course, I just wanted to finish this. I glanced to my left at one of the cameras and glared. Just get this over with so I can finally end those two once and for all. Before I could dwell on it, I heard an explosion that made me feel uneasy for some reason. Nothing quite like it to bring everyone's enthusiasm to the forefront and showcase their skills. Insight, the ability to grasp the situation quickly and accurately, agility, the ability to make a dynamic entrance without ever being late to the party, judgment, the ability to face any obstacle with composure, and, of course, sheer fighting prowess. We can gauge their respective levels of those foundational skills through the point system. Oh my, we've gathered quite a lot this year. We can't be sure of that yet. The real test of their mettle is this. Once the button was pressed, out came the gimmick that was the zero-pointer. One of the judges glanced at a camera to see an examinee looking straight at them, piquing their curiosity until the examinee moved away. Interesting. Izuku's POV. Hearing the sound of something large, I turned away from the cameras to see the zero-pointer. I wonder how much they used to create this, I thought. I floated down and landed on the ground, witnessing the other examinees panicking and running away from the robot. I remained still, however, because the same girl I had met earlier was trapped and calling for help. No one seemed to hear her, or perhaps they simply didn't care. I began walking toward her, causing the other examinees to yell at me, warning me of the danger, while the judges watched curiously to see what I would do. As I got close enough, I glanced at the zero-pointer and sighed. I raised my right hand, and the robot was lifted into the air. With my other hand, I pulled the girl toward me, the wind swirling around us. Then I made a punching motion toward the robot, sending it flying and reducing it to scraps, which sparked and exploded. The heat from the robot spread, so I concentrated it into a smaller area until it simmered down, creating a crater in the ground. I stared at it for a moment before turning to the girl. "Are you okay?" I asked, my voice flat. She stared at me and nodded. "Well, I'm glad you're okay, but it seems you sprained your ankle." I let her sit on the ground so I could inspect her injury. Thank you for saving me," she said. I nodded and gently touched the area where she felt pain. She flinched but then relaxed as the discomfort faded. I was using one of my powers, healing, which I would likely use only for those whose spirits were not diminished. Afterward, I asked if the pain was gone. She stood up and smiled, saying yes. When I heard that the exam was finished, I sighed. So it's done. About time. I looked at the girl and decided to inspect her face, gently holding her cheeks to make her look at me. "Hey, what are you doing?" she asked, surprised. I continued to hold her cheeks, playfully making her blush. I never got your name. What is it?" I paused my playful antics and waited for her response. "It's Ochako Uraraka. Izuku Midoriya. Nice to meet you, Ochako." She seemed surprised that I called her by her first name. Our conversation was interrupted when other examinees wanted to know how I managed to handle the zero-pointer. Unfortunately for them, I didn't care and simply floated off the ground. "I'll see you later, Ochako." With that, I left, causing a gust of wind that made the others shield their eyes. Once the dust settled, I was gone. Nobody's POV. With the end of the exam, Izuku was finally able to leave, but he had to wait for Reiko. He leaned against the wall, gazing at the clouds in the sky. After a few minutes, Izuku felt a tap on his shoulder. He turned to see none other than Ochako, smiling at him. "Hey, it's nice to see you're still here," she said. "We just met a few hours ago, but I'm glad to see you again," he replied. She smiled back until he noticed Reiko approaching. "Ah, Reiko, there you are." Ochako also looked to see a girl heading their way. When the two of them locked eyes, they simply stared at each other. "Well, Reiko, this is Ochako Uraraka. Ochako, this is Reiko Yanagi." They nodded at each other, then turned to Izuku, who had tilted his head to the side. The two girls looked away, deciding it was time to go. Izuku, Ochako, and Reiko walked together to the train station. Before parting ways, Ochako exchanged numbers with Izuku, and he did the same. Even though they had just met, the two girls exchanged numbers as well. Now we see Izuku on the beach that was once a trash heap, having freshened up at home. He gazed at the waves, manipulating the salt water to come to him. He formed fire to spiral around the liquid, then created air currents and small pebbles of earth. He looked at his creation but felt nothing. No matter how much he wanted to, he couldn't feel anything. He couldn't even show his smile to his mother anymore. With a sigh, he turned off his manipulation, letting the elements fall to the sand. "I wonder what will happen once I'm done." Izuku didn't know how to feel about this and simply stared out at the sea. "It's been 3 days since the UA entrance exam, and during those days, I've only practiced the 4 basic elements: fire, earth, water, and air. I know there's one more basic element of nature space, but using it could be dangerous. So, when the time comes, I'll use it as a last resort. Right now, I'm at the beach again, enjoying the waves and the sound of the birds. Being at peace for once is nice, but unfortunately, it had to end." With a sigh, I got up from the sand and started walking. "Please, no. I'll give you anything. Money, right? You want money, right? Just please don't hurt me." The figure pleaded, but it was too late. The scene was grim, with remnants of chaos scattered throughout the alley. "I don't care. Your soul has already been tainted, pathetic human." Izuku, now in his Reaper's mode, wiped the remaining traces of blood from his scythe. "That's about 25 I've taken now." He floated away into the gathering darkness, seeking more souls to claim, determined to erase their very essence without remorse. He landed atop a building, his cloak billowing in the wind as he gripped his scythe tightly. Suddenly, something shot toward him, but he allowed it to pass right through him. Turning his head, he acknowledged the presence of the underground hero. "Eraserhead, I presume?" he remarked, recognizing the hero who stood ready to confront him, glaring with intensity. Before Izuku could respond, he found himself immobilized by blocks of cement conjured by Cementos. However, he simply phased through, leaving the two heroes in shock. "You can't capture me, so what's the point of this?" "I take the souls that don't deserve redemption," Izuku said, starting to turn away. But Eraserhead was not about to let him escape and lunged forward to attack. Izuku allowed the blow to land, taking a punch to the face without flinching, merely looking at Eraser with an unsettling calm. "Your soul. Foolish human. You can't save those you care about. Destroying a person's dream will be your downfall." Just as he prepared to strike Eraser, a loud noise interrupted him, causing him to shove Eraser aside, who was then hit by a blast that knocked him unconscious. "Eraser!" Another pro-hero shouted as he rushed toward them, followed by more heroes. Izuku regarded them coolly. No matter how many heroes come, it will be meaningless. You will all fail." The heroes felt a wave of anger at his arrogance, but when they met his gaze, it felt as if they had faced their own demise. They prepared to attack, but with a snap of his fingers, black chains erupted from the ground, ensnaring them without drawing blood. "You're not going to die yet. You're all not ready. I'm merely paralyzing you with my chains," he said, floating away as the chains released, leaving the heroes unable to move. Izuku remained suspended in the air until he heard a voice that nearly made him lose control. "Finally, we meet, villain." He turned to see the one who had crushed his dreams, the person he intended to defeat. "It's time for you to fall, All Might." With that, Izuku soared toward the number 1 hero, who braced himself for the impending clash. The battle between Reaper and All Might raged on, with All Might throwing punches that merely passed through Izuku. Reaper allowed a few hits to land, enjoying the moment. But All Might realized that Reaper was holding back. When Reaper finally struck, he connected with All Might's face, pushing him back with a series of relentless blows. Pathetic hero. You're nothing but a nuisance, someone who should have been gone long ago. All Might attempted to retaliate, but Reaper effortlessly stopped his attack, and what All Might saw in his eyes sent a chill down his spine. What's the matter, hero? It looks like you've seen your own demise. Reaper seized All Might by the throat, tightening his grip as All Might struggled to break free. Reaper laughed maniacally. Yes, finally. I can end you. But before he could continue, a sudden attack interrupted him. A flame shot toward him, forcing him to release All Might, who fell to the ground, gasping for breath. Do you really think a little fire can stop me, Endeavor? Reaper sneered, looking down at Endeavor with a sinister smile. He raised his scythe, pointing it menacingly at Endeavor. As Endeavor prepared another attack, Reaper vanished, catching him off guard. Before he could react, he felt a sharp pain as something pierced his chest, causing him to collapse, unconscious. All Might watched in shock as Reaper taunted him. Don't worry, he'll live for now. He still has a role to play, as do you, symbol of peace. Floating closer, Reaper smiled wickedly. When the time comes, that power of yours will be mine. Let's see how long it takes until you're nothing but a memory. He then plunged his scythe into All Might's injury, eliciting a scream before knocking him out. With a sigh, he floated away. I should have ended him. Next, I'll target Bakugo and the others who underestimated me. He paused, gazing up at the stars. I'll finish this soon, Bakugo and All Might. Your time will come, but for now, I'll let you live. He flew away toward his home, where his body lay still, submerging himself within it as he reflected on the events that had transpired. All Might, he muttered in a flat tone, heading to get some water, hoping to receive the letter soon. Inside a mall, Kyoka, dressed casually, enjoyed a drink while reminiscing about her parents wishing her a happy birthday. It was embarrassing but brought a smile to her face. However, she hesitated to mention her birthday to her friends after everything that had happened at school. Suddenly, she found herself lifted into the air, surprised to see who was responsible. Midoriya? She exclaimed as Izuku, dressed comfortably, floated before her, his expression unreadable. They landed on a stage where everyone was watching, and Izuku began to speak. I would like to say something. Izuku looked at Kyoka and smiled, causing her to blush. Happy birthday, Kyoka. To celebrate, I thought we could sing together, he said, using his power to conjure two microphones and handing one to her. Kyoka smiled back at him, her cheeks still slightly pink. As they began to sing, she couldn't help but wonder how well Izuku could perform. Kyoka captivated the audience with her singing. Kyoka, I love it when you call me señorita. I wish I could pretend I didn't need you, but every touch feels so enchanting. It's true. I should be running, but you keep me coming back for more. When it was Izuku's turn, both the audience and Kyoka were mesmerized by his voice. Izuku landed in Miami. The air was warm from the summer rain, and I felt the sweat dripping off me before I even knew her name. It was like a magical moment. Under the sapphire moonlight, we danced for hours in the sand. It felt perfect. Izuku and Kyoka sang together. Izuku, Kyoka, I love it when you call me señorita. I wish I could pretend I didn't need you, but every touch feels so enchanting. It's true. I should be running, but you know I love it when you call me señorita. I wish it wasn't so hard to leave you, but every touch feels so enchanting. It's true. I should be running, but you keep me coming back for more. The two were in perfect harmony, facing each other until it was Kyoka's turn to sing solo. Kyoka, locked in the hotel, there are just some things that never change. You say we're just friends, but friends don't know the way you feel. It's been a long time coming, so don't let me fall. When your lips meet mine, it's like magic. Your kiss is captivating, so don't stop. Izuku and Kyoka continued their duet. Izuku, Kyoka, I love it when you call me señorita. I wish I could pretend I didn't need you, but every touch feels so enchanting. It's true. I should be running, but you know I love it when you call me señorita. I wish it wasn't so hard to leave you. It's true. I should be running, but you keep me coming back for more. As the song ended, they drew close, letting their emotions take over, and shared a kiss that sent the audience into a frenzy of cheers and applause. When they pulled away, Kyoka blushed and rested her head on Izuku's chest, feeling content and happy. Izuku, happy birthday, Kyoka. Now come on, I have to take you to the party. Kyoka, party? She asked, looking at Izuku, who smiled back at her. He lifted her off the ground in a playful princess carry, making her blush even more. Izuku, don't worry, you'll love it. With that, he took off into the air, both of them waving goodbye to the audience, unaware that their duet was being uploaded to the internet. Kyoka, this is by far the best birthday ever. Izuku's POV. I sighed in contentment while relaxing in the bath, reflecting on my recent experiences. I had finally confronted those who had ridiculed me in junior high, and it felt like a weight had been lifted. I thought about my letter, knowing that passing was all I needed. I called Reiko to share the news, but unfortunately, we wouldn't be in the same class. She would be in 1B while I was in 1A. I hadn't spoken to Ochako yet, but I planned to call her soon. After drying off, I got dressed and went to find my mom, who was watching her favorite show. Izuku, enjoying your show, Mom? She looked at me with tears in her eyes. Inko, oh, of course. You know how I get with this kind of show. Izuku, romance, drama, and hospitals? I don't think I'll ever understand. She smiled at me, and I excused myself so she could continue watching. Stepping outside, I gazed at the night sky. My eyes changed color, now a deep gray. I contemplated the scenarios I could create to confront my past, wishing I could have dealt with things differently. I discreetly summoned my scythe, ensuring my mom didn't see. As I looked at it, it felt as if it was staring right into my soul. It's nice to finally meet you, Master. A feminine voice echoed, and I noticed the scythe's red eye focused on me. Izuku, so you're alive? Yes, Master. I've always been here, but I chose to remain quiet until I was ready to introduce myself. Izuku, what is your name? You're my master, so you can name me, and I will accept it without regret. I thought for a moment and touched the tip of the blade, drawing out a drop of blood that was unlike any other, dark and mysterious. Izuku, your name will be Kuruchi. Do you accept this name for all eternity and stay by my side? The scythe hovered in the air, and a light enveloped it. When it faded, I saw my scythe transformed into a human form, smiling at me, yet I remained expressionless. Kuruchi, thank you for giving me a name, Master. Your wish is my command, and I will serve you for all eternity. I will be your weapon and your protection. When the time comes, if you find no use for me as your weapon, may I have your permission to make a selfish request? I could only gaze at her. She had treated me with such respect, and her beauty radiated elegance. Izuku, what is this request? She stepped closer, wrapping her arms around my neck, bringing her face near mine. Kuruchi, until you think you have no need for me as your weapon, let me be your companion. I looked at her, my grip tightening slightly, but she seemed to enjoy the moment. Izuku, you are of use to me for all eternity, but I will consider your request. I released her, and she pouted slightly. Izuku, I'll let my mother know she'll have a visitor tonight. Come on. Kuruchi, of course, Master. With that, I stepped back inside my home, Kuruchi walking closely behind me. As I approached my mother, I wondered how she would react to this. I just hoped she wouldn't faint when she sought answers. Izuku's POV. It was my first day at UA High. I wore my school uniform, my tie perfectly styled, and I had chosen smart shoes instead of my usual red ones. Keith, dressed in her kimono, smiled at me while holding 2 bags, one for her and one for me. I called the school and spoke to the principal about Kuruchi. After some persuasion and a game of chess online, he agreed to let her join my class, even though it wouldn't be even. As I prepared to leave, my mother told me she was proud of me. I turned to her and smiled. Even though it wasn't much, Mom was happy that I was trying, and she gave me a hug. After that, Kuruchi and I walked to the train station. Kuruchi, Master, why aren't you using your powers? We could get to school much faster. Izuku, I know, but a friend of mine will likely be taking the same train, so I need to see her. With that settled, we continued to the train station, found our train, and hopped on. It didn't take long for me to spot my friend. However, she looked uncomfortable because someone was getting too close to her and was about to cross a line. I quickly intervened, grabbing the guy's hand and glaring at him. Izuku, if you don't want your hand to be broken, I kindly ask you to step back from her. He nodded and I let him go, watching him walk away. But I knew this wasn't over. I looked down at my friend, who blushed and thanked me for my intervention. Izuku, you should have used your power on that guy, Ochako. Ochako wanted to protest, saying it would be illegal, but I pulled her into a hug, silencing her. Izuku, I'm glad you're okay. She sighed contentedly at my affection but looked a bit surprised when Kuruchi came closer, holding my arm and smiling at Ochako. Kuruchi, well now, Master, I didn't know you had feelings for this friend of yours. Ochako looked at me, curious about who Kuruchi was. I sighed. Izuku, Ochako, this is Kuruchi, a friend I met when we were younger. Since she'll be joining our school, the principal accepted her into Class 1A. I lied to prevent any misunderstandings about my relationship with Kuruchi. Ochako nodded and introduced herself to Kuruchi, who released my arm and greeted her warmly. After that, the two of them chatted, with Ochako blushing every now and then, which piqued my curiosity. When we reached our destination, we got off the train and walked to our school, meeting Reiko along the way. Izuku, I just hope I don't have to deal with any nonsense. After saying goodbye to Reiko, who went to her class, she gave me a quick kiss on the cheek, causing both Ochako and Kuruchi to pout. The three of us peered into our classroom, where a blue-haired young man was reprimanding a blonde-haired student for putting his feet on the desk. Izuku, I spoke too soon. What's worse is that I have to deal with these troublesome people. When the blue-haired student noticed me, he marched over. Izuku, Sai, let's get this over with. I hope I don't lose my temper. Izuku looked ahead as the blue-haired student approached. I see that you passed. Allow me to introduce myself. Izuku, I'm not interested. The student stopped, shocked by my response. I glared at him, while Ochako and Kuruchi watched the exchange. Izuku, I don't care who you are, and I don't care about your self-centered attitude. Just back off. Everyone in the class looked shocked at my words, while I maintained a bored expression. Ochako gently pulled me toward my seat, and Kuruchi followed behind, smiling. Everyone, please don't cause any more trouble. This is the Department of Heroics, so settle down. A figure in a sleeping bag addressed the students from the floor, sipping from a drink carton. He stood up and unzipped his sleeping bag, revealing a black jumpsuit with a white scarf around his neck. It took you all 8 seconds to quiet down. Life is short, kids. You're all lacking common sense. Izuku simply looked at him. Izuku, erase your head. You'll have your chance to regret crossing me. I'm your homeroom teacher, Shota Aizawa. Pleasure to meet you. Everyone except Izuku and Kuruchi. He's our homeroom teacher. Aizawa suddenly dove back into his sleeping bag and emerged with a gym uniform. Aizawa, wear these immediately, and then head to the PE grounds. Meanwhile, All Might, now in his smaller form, was reviewing the UA systems. With everyone now on the PE grounds. All, a Quirk apprehension test? Ochako, what about the ceremony? And the guidance counselor meeting? Aizawa, if you want to be heroes, we don't have time for frilly niceties. You all understand the school's reputation for freedom on campus. Well, that freedom applies to us teachers too. All the activities you did during middle school, from the softball pitch to those physical tests where you were barred from using your quirks, the country still hasn't standardized those records or kept track of average performance levels. Aizawa then looked at Bakugo. Aizawa, Bakugo, how far could you pitch a softball in middle school? Bakugo, 67 meters. Aizawa, alright, try using your quirk this time. As long as you don't exit the circle. Anything you do is fine. He tossed the ball to Bakugo. Aizawa, don't hold back. Bakugo smirked. Bakugo, you got it. I'll just add a bit of firepower to my arm and adjust the pitch with some shockwave power. Bakugo, dii. Izuku simply looked at Bakugo with a bored expression and sighed. Ochako and Kuruchi noticed this, and Ochako held his hand while Kuruchi gave her gentle pats on the head. Izuku let it happen, feeling a twinge of jealousy towards two individuals he didn't care about. Aizawa. Before anything else, one must know what they're capable of. This rational metric will form the basis of our hero foundation. Aizawa displayed Bakugo's score, which was 705.2 meters. 705 meters? Unreal. Awesome. That looks so fun. We can really use our quirks now? That's the Department of Heroics for you. But Aizawa wasn't pleased. Aizawa, so you think this is fun, huh? Alright then, the student who ranks last in total points will be considered hopeless and instantly expelled. This caused shocked expressions among everyone, but Izuku only glared. Aizawa, our freedom means we can dispense with students as we please. Welcome to the Department of Heroics. Izuku clenched his hands slightly, resting it on Kuruchi's head, who was enjoying the pressure. Izuku, control yourself. Don't let them figure out who you are. If that happens, I won't know what I'd do. Chapter end. Aizawa, now then. We're just wasting time by talking. Let the games begin. With that, the quirk assessment test began. Measuring device 5. Runners, on your marks. Ready. Gunshot. When the sound of the gun fired, both runners raced to the finish line. Measuring device 5. 3.04 seconds. Ida. At 50 meters I can only reach third gear. Present Mike Tenya Ida. His quirk, engine. As you can see, his legs are incredibly fast. Well, he's definitely in his element, but speed won't help him in every test. The other students were next to run. Ochako, I'll lighten up my clothes. Oh, and my shoes too. Present Mike Ochako Urarka. Her quirk, zero gravity. Measuring device 5. Get set. Gunshot. Present Mike she can nullify the gravitational pull of anything she touches. But if she uses her power too much, she totally loses her lunch. Measuring device 5. 5.49 seconds. 7.15 seconds. Ochako, well, at least that's faster than junior high. Aoyama, nice attempts, my friends. Measuring device 5. Runners, on your marks. Aoyama, but you're just not showing enough flair. Gunshot. Aoyama, let your powers shine. Present Mike Yuga Aoyama, his quirk, naval laser. That's right, a belly button laser. But he can't shoot it forever. Measuring device 5. 5.51 seconds. Aoyama, shooting my beautiful beam for more than a second hurts my tummy. Siro, Kirishima, Kaminari, Ashido, Aizawa, what a tool. Aizawa, testing the upper limits of their powers helps me assess their room for growth. It becomes clear what they can and can't do, their true potential. As Aizawa said this, Izuku was focused on the track, eyeing his so-called challenger on his right side. Bakugo, I'm gonna win this, you hear me, Deku? Izuku, that you can try, but you'll lose anyway. Measuring device 5. Runners, on your marks. Ready. Gunshot. Aizawa, sometimes, pros have to be creative in order to succeed. Bakugo, burst speed. Measuring device 5. 2 seconds. 4.13 seconds. Present Mike Katsuki Bakugo. His quirk, explosion. Bakugo, my power has more uses than anyone else's in this school. Izuku, keep telling yourself that. When Bakugo heard that and saw the time, he was shocked to find he was beaten and wanted to demand answers, but he didn't get the chance. Kuruchi, Izuku, that was amazing. I can't wait for you to do more damage. She said this while leaning close to his ear. Izuku, in due time, Kuyi. Until then, don't overdo it. Kuruchi, hee, no promises. When it was her turn, she got the same score as Izuku, causing some students, including Aizawa and a certain stalker, All Might, to be shocked. Beeping. Wow. You hit 540 kilograms? You're such a beast. Yeah, like a muscle-eye octopus. And so the test continued until it was time for the next round. Whistle blows. Students infinity? That's insane. How's that possible? Izuku simply watched, seeing Ochako waving at him with a smile on her face. He waved back, but with no emotion. Izuku, all that's left is the ball throw, then the distance run, sit-ups, and the seated toe touch. When Izuku's name was called, he walked toward the circle. Ida, Midoriya is something else. I wonder what he'll do in this test. Bakugo? That quirkless loser is just gonna lose this one. Ida, he has a quirk. Did you not hear about what he did in the entrance exam? Bakugo didn't want to believe it that the nerd had a quirk and was getting frustrated at the possibility. Izawa, here it comes. Inko, Izuku. I'm really proud of you, son. Izuku, well, let's get on with it. With that, Izuku got ready, using his telekinetic powers on the ball and his body's strength in his arm. He prepared to throw until he felt a strange sensation. Izuku, this is frustrating. When Izuku threw the ball. Measuring device 46 meters. Izuku looked to his side and glared. Izawa, I erased your quirk. The judges for this exam were not rational enough. Someone like you should never be allowed to enroll at this school. Izuku glared even more. Izuku, so what kind of excuse are you going to make to the erasure hero? Eraserhead? When Izuku said that name, Izawa was shocked, but Izuku didn't care and mentally told Kuruchi to stand down since she had a crazed look on her face. Students, Zero Eraser? Who's that? Tetsuyo, I've heard of him. I think he operates in the shadows. All Might Izawa is one of those individuals who prefers to avoid the media, believing they disrupt our work. He tends to judge celebrity heroes like me because I thrive in the spotlight. Izawa, to me you're not ready. You have a vengeful look in your eyes, and you might end up hurting those close to you. Izuku, are you finished? Izawa, you brat. Izuku simply ignored him, walking toward the ball and preparing to throw it. Izuku, if you're done talking, I'd like to finish my test, so stop erasing my power before I have to make you regret it. Students gasp. They gasped at Izuku's bold words directed at Izawa, who stepped back, sensing that Izuku might actually follow through. Izawa, I've returned your impractical quirk. Take your final throw. Hurry and get it over with. He tried to stay calm, but he felt sweat pouring down his face. Izuku sighed and levitated the ball. Izawa, is he going to use his quirk? This brat knows something and is hiding it. He and that girl over there are dangerous. As Izuku levitated the ball, he pointed it upward, and the ball shot off, creating a cloud of dust around them. Once the dust settled, they saw Izawa's shocked expression as he turned to them, revealing the infinity sign. The students looked at Izuku, who wore a bored expression. Some of Class 1A. Just who is this guy? Bakugo. Deku, when did you become this strong? Izuku Midoriya, huh? All Might. Minute. Don't tell me you went to that side, young Midoriya. Chapter end. Nobody's POV. With Izuku finished with his ball throw, he was chatting with Kuruchi and Ochako, excitedly discussing how impressive his throw was. Kuruchi leaned in closer to him, while Ochako pouted, feeling a bit left out. Katsuki, what was that? If he had a quirk, he would have shown it when we were kids. This is impossible. Wait, don't tell me it was that time he almost. No way. Katsuki growled, determined to uncover the truth. Hey! As Izuku noticed Bakugo charging at him, he prepared himself alongside Kuruchi, who was ready to defend. Katsuki, Deku, you better tell me how you did that or else. Izuku simply looked at him, and in an instant, Bakugo found himself flipped upside down, crashing to the ground and feeling the impact. Bakugo, what the heck? Izuku's eyes glowed as he raised his hand, causing Bakugo to struggle for breath. But Izuku soon released him and continued on his way with Ochako and Kuruchi. Ochako, ouch, that must have hurt. Are you okay, Izuku? Izuku, yeah, I'll be fine, Ochako. His tone was flat, but Ochako understood he was all right in his own way. As they walked away, Bakugo glared in their direction. Bakugo, until the exam, he was nothing. Just a little bug I could crush if I wanted to. He recalled their childhood together. Young Izuku, your quirk is amazing, Kakin. When I get mine, I hope it's just as cool. Young Katsuki, whatever, Deku. No matter what power you end up with, you'll never beat me. Katsuki, just an annoying bug that I can squash. After that, the remaining tests were completed. Izuku appeared bored while waiting. Aizawa, alright, time to give you your results. I've ranked you all from best to worst. You should probably have a good idea of your standing already. I'll just pull up the whole list. It's not worth going over each individual score. When Izuku saw the list, he was only slightly surprised to find that he and Kuruchi were tied for first place, eliciting shocked reactions from the others. Bakugo, not only did I lose to Deku, but I lost to her too? Aizawa, and I was lying, no one's going home. That was just a tactic to ensure you all gave it your best effort. The group gasped. Momo, I'm surprised the rest of you didn't figure that out. I'm sorry, I probably should have said something. Jiro, Mineta, Kaminari, yeah, you should have. That was pretty nerve-wracking, huh? Nah, I'm always up for a challenge. Aizawa, that's it. We're done for the day. Pick up a syllabus in the classroom. Read it over before tomorrow morning. Aizawa sighs. Aizawa, Midoriya. Izuku glanced at Aizawa for a moment before moving on, leaving Aizawa sighing in frustration. Aizawa, this kid is nothing but a problem. Aizawa, that was a rotten move. Aizawa, All Might. So you were watching. No talk shows today. All Might, a rational deception. That's cute, but you're not exactly known for being lighthearted. I read your file. Last year, you expelled an entire class of freshman students. You have no problem kicking students out anyone you deem unworthy. You were planning to send last place home. So that can only mean. You see it too, don't you? Young Midoriya is hiding something. Aizawa, what is this about? It almost sounds like you've been in his corner the whole time. All Might, Aizawa, isn't it a little early for you to be playing favorites? He doesn't have zero potential, I admit. In fact, it's almost like he's deliberately holding back his power. With that, he walked away, leaving All Might to ponder, unaware that Kuruchi was watching. Sigh, what a waste of a hero. We now see Izuku and Kuruchi heading home. Achiko, hey! Wait up you two. Are you going to the station? I'll join you guys. Izuku, I don't mind at all. This made Ochako smile at him, creating a warm atmosphere around the two of them. Were you going to leave me behind, Izuku? The sudden voice made Ochako turn to see Reiko there, looking at Izuku with her usual emotionless stare, while he returned the gaze. Izuku, no, Reiko, why would I leave you behind? Kuruchi and I were just waiting for you, and Ochako wanted to tag along since we're friends. Ochako, right? We wouldn't leave you behind, Yanagi-san. Reiko nodded in understanding, but when she noticed Kuruchi, she wanted Izuku to explain himself. However, he was already walking away, and they hurried after him. Izuku, UA's Hero Course Curriculum. There are normal core classes, like English. Mike, they meet in the mornings. Now, which of these 4 sentences contains a mistake? Ashido Kaminari, Jiro, so boring. Katsuki, this really is. Mike, hey, everybody look alive. Grammar rules. Izuku, the relative pronouns wrong in the last one. He thought this to himself but accidentally projected his voice into his teacher's mind, making Mike look directly at Izuku, who thought it was just his imagination. He then moved towards Momo. Present Mike, Yarozu, lay it on us. Izuku, we eat lunch in the main cafeteria, where we can buy pretty tasty stuff on the cheap. Lunch rush. White rice is the perfect comfort food, isn't it? Izuku, this is super good, but my mom's cooking is the best. Kuruchi, facts. Izuku, and then in the afternoon, it's finally time. Hero basic training. Which for some reason makes me want to hurl. I am here. Coming through the door like a hero. Students gasp. I can't believe it's really All Might. So he is a teacher. This year is gonna be totally awesome. Is he wearing his Silver Age costume? I'm getting goosebumps. It's so retro. Welcome to the most important class at UA High. Think of it here 101. Here, you will learn the basics of being a pro and what it means to fight in the name of good. Let's get into it. Today's lesson will pull no punches. As they observed, some students were excited. Bakugo, real fighting. But one of the keys of being a hero is looking good. When he pressed a button, the floor revealed the students' numbers and suitcases. All Might, these were designed for you based on your Quirk registration forms and the requests you sent in before school started. Students gasp, cheer. Costumes. All Might, get yourselves suited up, and then meet me at Training Ground Beta. Students, yes, sir. While that was happening, Izuku sighed and went on his way, grabbing his suitcase and getting ready to change, but not before looking at Kuruchi. Izuku, Kuruchi only smiled. Kuruchi, don't worry, darling. I know the drill. Time skip. They say that clothes make the pros, young ladies and gentlemen, and behold, you are the proof. All Might, take this to heart. From now on you are all heroes in training. All Might, this is getting me all revved up. You look so cool. Now, shall we get started, you bunch of newbies? When Izuku walked in, he saw the back of his classmates, and both he and Kuruchi were in their hero outfits, which surprised them. Chako hey, Izuku Chako. When Izuku saw her costume, his emotionless face almost broke. Ochako, I love both your costumes. They look amazing. Izuku, thanks. You look good yourself. Ochako, well, I should have been more specific about what I wanted. This bodysuit is skin tight. Not really my style. Kuruchi, you know, with those curves, I wonder what you'd be like without that suit of yours. She said this while getting closer, making Ochako blush, but Izuku lightly tapped Kuruchi on the head. Izuku, control yourself, Kuri. She nodded, still looking a bit starry-eyed. Why does that guy have two girls surrounding him? All Might, now that you're ready, it's time for combat training. Tenya, sir. This is the fake city from our entrance exam. Does that mean we'll be conducting urban battles again? All Might, not quite. I'm going to move you 2 steps ahead. Most villain fights you see on the news take place outside. However, statistically speaking, run-ins with the most dastardly evildoers take place indoors. Think about it. Backroom deals, home invasions, secret underground lairs. Truly intelligent criminals stay hidden in the shadows. For this training exercise, you'll be split into teams of good guys and bad guys and fight 2-on-2 indoor battles. But since there's an odd number of students here, one team will have 3 members. Isn't this a little advanced? All Might, the best training is what you get on the battlefield. But remember, you can't just punch a robot this time. You're dealing with actual people now. Tenya, sir, will you be the one deciding who wins? How much can we hurt the other team? Do we need to worry about the losers getting expelled like earlier? Will you be splitting us up based on chance or comparative skill? All Might, listen up. The situation is this. The villains have hidden a nuclear missile somewhere in their hideout. The heroes must try to foil their plans. To do that, the good guys either have to catch the evildoers or recover the weapon. Likewise, the bad guys succeed if they protect their payload or capture the heroes. Time's limited, and we'll choose teams by drawing lots. Tenya, isn't there a better way? Izuku, pros often have to team up with heroes from other agencies on the spot. Tenya, yes, I see. Life is a random series of events. Excuse my rudeness. No sweat. Let's draw. When Izuku drew his lot, he got the letter A, and when he saw who his partner was. Ochako, wow, what are the chances? We're a team. Izuku, I see. Let's show them our teamwork, okay? She nodded while grabbing his hand, which he didn't mind. All Might, I declare that the first teams to fight will be these guys. Team A will be the heroes, Team D will be the villains. Everyone else can head to the monitoring room to watch. Students, yes, sir. All Might, bad guys, you can go on in and get set up. In 5 minutes, the good guys will be let loose and the battle will start. Tenya, Ochako, yes, sir. All Might, young Ida. Young Bakugo. The key to being successful in this challenge is to embody villainy. Think from the perspective of an evildoer. Tenya, got it. All Might, if things go too far, I'll step in. Tenya, understood. Tenya, even though this is training, it pains me to be aligned with criminal behavior. Tenya, so this is the weapon we must protect. Of course. Katsuki, hey. Tenya HM? Katsuki, do you really think Deku has a quirk? You saw how he threw that ball. Though I must admit he's really threatening when you look him in the eyes. Katsuki teach. Tenya, why is it that you seem to be especially angry when it comes to Midoriya? Katsuki, was he seriously just tricking me all these years? I'm gonna roast that nerd today. Ochako, do you think they expect us to memorize this building's floor plan? It's so big. You know, All Might's just as cool in person as he is on television. I'm glad he's not threatening us with some kind of punishment like Mr. Aizawa. We can relax. Izuku, are you okay? Izuku was really upset, feeling that no one would stop him from confronting Bakugo this time. He calmed down a bit and looked at Ochako. Izuku, don't worry, Ochako. I'll be fine. Besides, I've already memorized the floor plan for the building and have a plan to win. You think you can handle it? Ochako, are you kidding? We're a team, right? Let's win this. Izuku suddenly had a small smile on his face, which Ochako noticed, as it was the first time she'd seen him smile. All Might, all right. Let's begin the indoor combat training. Team A and Team D, your time starts now. Pay attention, kids. Think about what you would do. Ochako, and just like that we're in. Izuku, careful, there are a lot of blind spots. Izuku looked around and focused on one of his powers. Izuku, focus and just shape only a part of you. Izuku then let out a high-pitched sound only he could hear, using his ears, which he shape-shifted into bat ears, to detect any sounds happening. Ochako, Izuku? Izuku grabbed Ochako just in time to avoid a blast of heat. Izuku, are you okay? Ochako, I'm fine. Thanks. Bakugo, what's the matter? Deku? Afraid to stand up and fight me? Mineta, he almost got the jump on them. Sneak attack. Bakugo? What kind of man pulls cheap tricks like that? Izuku, it's a viable strategy. He's playing the part. Acting like a true villain would. Mineta, it didn't work. Midoriya dodged him. Look, there he goes. Bakugo, I won't hurt you so. Bad, they'll have to stop the fight. Just close. Izuku got in close, delivering a punch that sent Bakugo staggering back, hitting the wall behind him. Ochako, wow. Look at those moves. Izuku, Ochako, remember the plan. Ochako, okay, got it. With that, she left, leaving Bakugo and Izuku alone. Izuku, you really think you're the best? Bullying someone who's defenseless and doesn't have any powers? You're nothing but dirt, a mistake, and someone who should just disappear. Bakugo couldn't think straight when he heard those words from Izuku because all he could see was Izuku's shadow forming a large figure. Izuku, I'll make sure I take you down. Even though this is just training, I'm going to give it my all 100%. That's the Ida way, and I won't tarnish my family's heroic name. Why are you talking to me, and why do you think you can be a convincing villain? Izuku asked. Tenya laughed. Of course I can. Didn't you know? I'm extremely evil. Izuku responded, Kuruchi. Suddenly, Kuruchi appeared, holding a scythe and chasing after Ida, who was screaming. Next time, Izuku versus Katsuki, Izuku declared. I'll make sure he knows pain and fear. Hold on, I didn't know Uraraka was a baseball player. Tenya exclaimed. She isn't, you know, Izuku retorted. How rude. Midoriya, that's no way to talk to a person. Tenya protested. Just leave me alone, Tin Man, Izuku shot back. Ida hesitated, looking at him, which made him shake. Go beyond, Izuku said in an emotionless tone. Plus Ultra, he added, still emotionless. PP plus U Ultra. Tenya stammered. Chapter end. Izuku's POV. I simply looked at Bakugo with such intensity that my feelings didn't even show on my face. Bakugo glared back at me, using his explosions to close the distance. I won't hurt you too badly for this battle to end, so you better not disappoint, Deku, he warned. That name infuriated me. I raised my left hand just in time to dodge a blast of explosions and pulled him toward me, pushing him hard against the wall. He gasped, feeling the impact as his limbs struggled to respond. He glared at me with a fierce expression. You think you're anything special? Get me out of this, he shouted. I simply glared back and then let out a laugh. Petitum. Izuku, Hero Basic Training, a class only available in the UA Hero course, seems like it will be interesting at least. Ochako. Izuku, Let's do our best in this combat exercise, okay? Izuku. Okay. Do I get a kiss from you? Ochako Echa? What?
I mean, maybe.
Well, it looks like we're up against Team Ida and Bakugo. Kuruchi. Ooh, I hope things get intense. The thought of it excites me. Ochako, is she okay? Izuku. Yeah, she'll be fine. The battle between me and Bakugo, how exciting, I guess. Next time, rage you dim nerd. Ochako. Oh my god, I can't believe I have to kiss Izuku. Kaiowea. Izuku, go beyond. Saying it emotionlessly. Izuku, Kuruchi, Ochako, plus Ultra. When he heard my laughter, he felt a chill run down his spine, struggling to catch his breath. I continued to laugh, not even hearing the announcement that Ochako and I had won the match. I didn't care. The fear in their eyes was palpable, making All Might hurry to intervene. Izuku, poor Katsuki Bakugo, do you really think you're anything special? Did you think you were powerful? No, you're just angry and frustrated because you can't have what you want. You're pathetic. I moved closer and struck him in the gut, releasing my hold on his limbs. He didn't have time to react before I landed a blow, causing him to wince in pain. I climbed on top of him, delivering a series of punches that left his face bruised. Midoriya, stop this. This isn't heroic. I turned to my left to see both Ida and Ochako, fear evident in their expressions. I focused on Ochako. She looked terrified. But was she afraid of me? I didn't understand. Ida tried to intervene, but I swiftly kicked him in the ribs, sending him crashing against the wall. I looked back at Bakugo, my mind clouded with anger, wanting to finish what I started. I was about to strike again when I felt a sudden impact, pushing me back. I saw both Ida, who was staggering, and Ochako distancing themselves from me, while All Might stepped forward. All Might, young Midoriya, please calm down. The match is over, there's no need to. But he didn't finish his sentence. I closed the distance quickly, landing a punch that made him grunt in pain. I stepped back, glaring at him as he knelt, looking defeated. I couldn't help but find his pain amusing, but then I calmed down, using my telekinesis to lift both him and Bakugo off the ground, rendering them unable to move. Izuku, yes, finally I can end this. Suddenly, I felt two presences near me. One was hugging me from behind, and the other kissed me on the lips. Ochako, scared for me, hugged me, trying to stop me from going too far, while Kuruchi intervened, attempting to calm me down with a kiss. My powers were deactivated, causing both Bakugo and All Might to hit the ground as medical bots rushed in to help. Kuruchi pulled back from the kiss, a blush on her face, while Ochako remained close, still hugging me. Kuruchi, I hope that calmed you down, Master. We don't want things to get more complicated now, do we? I didn't respond, my emotions locked away again. I used my telekinesis to lift both Ochako and Kuruchi, walking toward the monitor room with them in tow. Ochako wondered why I acted that way, shivering at the memory of my earlier expression. Once inside, no one dared to speak, feeling the tension in the air. Both All Might and Ida entered, avoiding me as All Might prepared for the matches to continue. I took a seat, with Kuruchi resting her head on my shoulder while I placed Ochako on my lap, who was blushing. Izuku's POV. With the end of the battle training and the day winding down, I found myself in class surrounded by some of my classmates who were trying to engage me in conversation. I didn't really feel like participating. Mina Ishido caught my attention with her intense gaze, and we held eye contact until she blinked, breaking the moment. Wow, you really are something, huh, Midori? Mina said with a playful smile. Midori? I replied, confused by the nickname. Her smile widened, and she seemed eager to chat, joined by Ochako and a couple of other classmates. Meanwhile, Kuruchi was comfortably seated on my lap, engrossed in her book. As I sat there, my mind drifted back to the chaotic scene outside the school earlier that day. Reporters had swarmed the entrance, clamoring for an interview with the #1 hero, which had soured my mood as I walked in with Kuruchi and Reiko. I managed to keep my cool and resist the urge to lash out at them. Now, with Ishido, Kirishima, and Tokoyami settling into their seats alongside Kuruchi and Ochako, I waited for our teacher to arrive. Eventually, he strolled in, glancing my way. I felt indifferent. If I had the chance, I might have preferred to deal with him in a more permanent way. Hope you're rested from yesterday's battle trial. I reviewed your marks and evaluations. Bakugo, stop acting like a child, you're wasting your talent, Aizawa said, his tone serious. I was taken aback but quickly reminded myself that his words were just empty rhetoric. And you, Midoriya, need to learn when to hold back. You're a student here, know when to stop, he continued, his gaze unwavering. I stared back, emotionless, fully aware that he could sense my indifference. I wasn't in the mood for his lectures, but I held my tongue. Aizawa sighed, shifting into a more serious tone. Now, let's get on with the homeroom notices. I'm sorry to spring this on you all, but... Everyone braced for the usual announcement about a pop quiz, but instead, Aizawa informed us that we needed to elect a class president. Finally, something school-related. The class erupted in excitement. I couldn't help but think about how pointless it all seemed. Almost every student was eager to run for class president, while I merely sighed, feeling it was a waste of time. As the noise settled, Ida began explaining the responsibilities that came with the position and suggested we take a vote. Some classmates felt it was too early to establish trust, while others expressed their intent to vote for themselves. That's exactly why the person who earns the most votes will be the right choice for the job, right? Ida asserted. Is that all right, sensei? Aizawa simply replied, sure, as long as we all decide by the deadline, while wrapped in his sleeping bag. When it was time for the votes to be announced, I felt a mix of anticipation and anxiety. Izuku, 4 votes? I know I voted for myself, but who else voted for me? I was surprised, but I kept my expression neutral. Bakugo, on the other hand, looked furious, glaring at me as if I had betrayed him. He began to sweat, sensing a strange presence nearby that seemed to unsettle him. Bakugo, who the hell voted for the nerd? Siro chimed in, what did you think? Anyone would have voted for you. Bakugo's frustration was palpable. Ida, 0 votes. I see how it is, of course, since I insisted on the importance of the role. Yaoyorozu, you voted for someone else. Satu, even though you wanted the job so badly. What are you doing, Ida? With that, Aizawa announced the 2 who would be the president and vice president for Class 1A, me and Yaoyorozu. The class congratulated us, though some looked a bit skeptical of my win. I shrugged it off, meeting Yaoyorozu's calculating gaze with my own. Izuku, I hope we have a good friendship, Yaoyorozu. She nodded, a smile on her face, but I sensed it was a facade. I didn't fully trust some of my classmates. They acted friendly, but I knew that when the time came, I would show no mercy. Chapter End. Izuku's POV. It's lunchtime, and I'm sitting with Kuruchi, Ochako, and Reiko, enjoying my meal while they playfully try to feed me. Kui, come on, master, say, Reiko, Aizu, please enjoy what I've prepared for you and open up. Ochako, Aizu, please open up and eat my food. I couldn't help but sweat drop at their antics. Suddenly, I heard a voice behind me. I turned to see a girl with long green hair and a playful smirk. Reiko, I'm sorry for that, Setsuna. Izuku, this is my classmate Setsuna Tokage, she tends to be a bit childish. Setsuna pouted, insisting she wasn't that childish, and approached me. Setsuna, nice to meet you. A friend of Yanagi is a friend of mine. Both Kuruchi and Ochako shook her hand, and when it was my turn, I took her hand, which was surprisingly severed from her body. I maintained my composure, though I was taken aback. Setsuna, wow, you really don't show much emotion, huh? She leaned in closer, causing Ochako to pull me protectively against her. Setsuna smirked at the sight. Setsuna, well, I'll be on my way to enjoy my lunch. See you all later. With that, she left, and I found myself still nestled against Ochako. Izuku, Ochako, you can let go now. She didn't respond, and I sighed, hearing Kuruchi giggle at my predicament. Reiko then asked, I'm curious if you've read the latest horror book, Izuku. At the mention of horror, Ochako paled, releasing me from her embrace. I turned to Reiko. Izuku, I think the author should make the characters more independent instead of closely tied together. That way, we can see how they navigate their lives on different paths. Reiko, wouldn't that be a bit difficult? Izuku, how about this? We continued discussing the book, while Kuruchi and Ochako exchanged glances. Ochako, those two really have a lot in common. Kuri, no kidding. Anyway, what do you think? Ochako, about what? Kuruchi just smiled knowingly, making Ochako blush. Unfortunately, something interrupted our conversation. Izuku, I have to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. I stood up and left the table, heading toward the restroom. After locking myself in a stall, I took a deep breath. Izuku, I swear if something's going on, I'm really going to lose it. In that moment, I felt my spirit separate from my body. An alarm blared, and I sensed the emotions of the students' fear, confusion. But there was something else. I zipped through the walls toward the teacher's staff room, only to see a portal closing. I hovered for a moment, sensing two presences nearby. One felt familiar and I couldn't shake the feeling. Izuku, someone's going to face consequences soon. I returned to my body and exited the stall. The commotion had settled, and I saw Yaoyorozu taking charge, calming everyone down after the press had caused a stir. Looking out the window, I noticed someone had broken through the wall, allowing reporters to swarm in. The aura around them was thick with malicious intent. The two presences I sensed earlier were filled with desperation and confusion. Why did it feel so familiar? I couldn't shake off the feeling, but Kuruchi hugged me from behind, with Reiko and Ochako approaching. Izuku, so, Reiko, let's talk more about the book. Chapter end. At 7:55 in the morning on Wednesday, pro-heroes Kamui Woods and Empty Lady were engaged in a fierce battle against a villain known as Habit Headgear, who had taken a family hostage. The fight was tough for both heroes, as Habit proved to be quite formidable. Just then, All Might rushed in and used his Missouri Smash against Habit, defeating him instantly and saving the family in the process. Kamui and Lady expressed their gratitude to All Might, who quickly departed to head to Ua. At 12:50 in the afternoon, Aizawa announced that their lesson in the foundational skills of heroics would be the trial of rescue. Kaminari, the trial of rescue sounds tough if you ask me. Mina, I agree. Kirishima, come on man. That's what a hero's whole job is. I'm ready for it. Tsuyu, if it's a flood, then that environment is my specialty. Ribbit. Aizawa, don't get ahead of yourselves. This made the students stop talking. Aizawa, as I was saying, this time it's entirely up to each of you whether or not you wear your costume. Some of your costumes probably aren't suited for the task at hand, after all. The training area is fairly far away, so we'll get there by bus. That's all. Go get prepared. With everyone in their costumes except one person. Ochako, huh? Izuku, how come you're in your gym clothes? Izuku, I had a choice to wear my hero costume or my gym clothes. I chose the latter for personal reasons. He said this while looking towards Ida, who was busy getting everyone in line according to their numbers. But he was stopped by Izuku, who gave him an emotionless look. Izuku, Ida, you're not the student president, so don't give orders. I'll say this again. Get off your high horse before I take you down a peg and get on the bus. Once Izuku said that, Ida could only listen with a hint of fear and went inside. Izuku turned his attention to his classmates, who got the message and hurried inside, leaving only him and Kuruchi. My master, you're really taking your role as class president seriously. Izuku, it's just a role, nothing more. Let's go in. Once the two got inside, the bus started to move. Izuku and Kuruchi both took their seats, with Kuruchi sitting on Izuku's lap again, making one of the students jealous while sitting between Satu and Tsuyu. Tsuyu, Midoriya-chan, I always say what I think, no matter what's on my mind. Izuku could only stare at the frog girl with little enthusiasm in his eyes. Izuku, is there something you wanted to ask me, Azui? Tsuyu, you can just call me Tsu. Your quirk. It reminds me of All Might's. Izuku, don't compare me to that hero, you hear me, frog? This made Tsu flinch when Izuku glared at her. Kirishima, whoa man, what's with the look? She was just making an observation when you threw the ball. Izuku, if that's the case, then she shouldn't compare me to that specific hero because I want nothing to do with him. Izuku remained silent until he looked out the window and then back at Tsu, gently patting her head. This caused reactions from Kuruchi, who suddenly giggled, Ochako, who was spacing out, and two other girls from Class 1B. Izuku, forgive me for glaring at you, Tsu, and for saying something unacceptable. It's just that my power and all mights are nothing alike. Mine is just telekinesis. He said this with no emotion, but Tsu felt he meant every word, accepting it while a small blush crept onto her face as he continued to pat her head. Everyone, except Kuruchi, looked at Izuku, wondering if he was okay. After that, Izuku remained silent until Kirishima broke the ice, talking about how he was jealous of Izuku's power while he just had a hardening quirk. But Izuku told him that he would definitely make great use of it by going pro. Izuku, Kirishima, don't be jealous of anyone just because they have what appears to be a better quirk. The quirk doesn't make the person better, it's the person who makes their own path and strives to be a better person. This made Kirishima happy, tears in his eyes. Kirishima, wow, Midoriya, who knew you could give a speech like that? It's so manly. Izuku could only sweat drop while Kuruchi tried not to laugh. Aoyama, pros are high, but you know heroics have a lot about them that's more like a popularity contest too, right? My naval laser is both flashy and strong enough for the pro level. But then Mina decided to chime in. Mina, but it'd be bad if your stomach collapsed. Kirishima, if we're talking about the double whammy of flashy and strong, you can't not mention Todoroki and Bakugo. This made Bakugo click his tongue at that, but when Tsu said he would never become popular with his attitude, it only fueled his anger, proving her point. Kaminari added his input, saying how it had only been brief, but they all knew Bakugo's personality was nothing but unpleasant. Bakugo started to curse more, making Izuku sigh. Izuku, so annoying. This made Bakugo glare at Izuku. Bakugo, and what did you say to me, Deku? Izuku then looked at Bakugo, who suddenly flinched, feeling the pressure. Izuku, you should know by now you're not the top dog anymore, so listen to this. Sit down, tone down your attitude, or I'll make you regret it. Do you understand me? This made everyone, except Kuruchi and even Ochako, pale and sweat as they felt the pressure coming from Izuku. It was clear that if he fought seriously, he wouldn't hold back. Izuku, is there any point to this? For me to actually try to be this hero? It's only a promise to someone I admire. This world, this society, all these souls, some are corrupted and some are pure. The corrupted souls are coming. After that, as the bus ride came to an end, all the students, plus Aizawa, who had been sleeping the whole time, arrived at the Unforeseen Simulation Joint, USJ, facility, a practical training area designed to simulate any kind of accident or disaster. One of the teachers for the lesson, Space Hero 13, a pro hero known for disaster relief, addresses Class 1A. He emphasizes the importance of using their quirks to protect human life. After the speech, Aizawa notices a black portal opening, through which a group of villains emerges. Realizing the threat is genuine, he instructs his students to huddle together and commands 13 to safeguard them while he prepares for battle. A voice from the shadows speaks, Eraserhead and no. According to the teacher's curriculum we obtained yesterday, Mr. All Might was supposed to be here. Yet, this revelation dawns on Aizawa, confirming that these villains have breached the UA barrier. Another villain expresses disappointment. Where is he? We went through all this trouble and brought so many of us. You can't tell me All Might, the symbol of peace, isn't here. I wonder if he'll show up if we threaten the kids. Izuku and Kuruchi exchange serious glances. Kuruchi wears a sinister expression, while Izuku's ghostly gray eyes reflect a growing intensity. He feels a surge of anger, his mind urging him to confront the villains. Both students share an unspoken understanding, their expressions hinting at the fierce determination brewing within them. Chapter End. Nobody's POV. Aizawa takes charge and orders 13 to evacuate Class 1A while trying to alert the rest of the school. Shota confronts the villains who recognize him, and he easily defeats many of them due to his expertise in group battles. Meanwhile, 13 and Class 1A attempt to evacuate, but Kuroji, a high-ranking villain, blocks their path. He informs the students and 13 that they are the League of Villains and that their goal is to eliminate All Might. Katsuki Bakugo and Eijiro Kirishima charge at Kuroji but find their attacks ineffective. Kuroji uses his quirk to teleport most of Class 1A students to different areas of the USJ. Izuku finds himself teleported to the flood zone, landing in the water. A villain lunges at him, but Izuku uses his telekinesis to hold the villain back just as it prepares to strike. Tsuyu intervenes, using her tongue to grab Izuku and toss him onto a nearby ship, where he floats and sighs in relief. She also pulls Mineta onto the ship before climbing aboard herself. Izuku looks at Tsuyu and pats her head, causing her to blush slightly. Thanks for the save, Tsu, but right now we need to figure out why these villains want to take down All Might, Izuku says, wincing slightly from the overwhelming presence of corrupted souls around him. Realizing that thinking won't help, he declares to Tsuyu and Minoru that their only option is to fight and win, much to Minoru's surprise. In Recovery Girl's nurse's office, All Might tries to contact 13 and Shota but is unsuccessful. He decides to head to the USJ shortly. However, Mr. Principal arrives and advises All Might to relax, discussing educational theories and noting that All Might hasn't changed at all. Back at the USJ, 13 realizes they cannot make contact with the outside world. 13 instructs Tenya to dash to UA to inform the teachers of the situation and seek their help. Tenya hesitates, feeling that leaving his classmates behind would be cowardly. After encouragement from his classmates and 13 urging him to use his quirk to save others, Tenya decides to run back to UA. Kuroji overhears their plan and moves to intercept Tenya, but 13 stands in his way, preparing for a confrontation. In the flood zone, a shocked Minoru criticizes Izuku's plan to fight, but Izuku ignores him and begins strategizing. He concludes that the League of Villains lacks knowledge about their quirks. While the villains have more experience and numbers, they have the element of surprise on their side. Tsuyu and Minoru reveal their quirks, and Izuku uses this information to formulate a strategy. As one of the villains strikes the ship, it begins to break apart. Izuku looks down, then jumps and floats in the air, focusing on Tsuyu and Minoru. "Alright, you know what to do. Go on ahead," he instructs. Tsuyu nods, grabs Minoru, and jumps off the ship just as the villains prepare to attack. However, they find themselves unable to move as Izuku clenches his hands, his eyes turning gray. The villains scream in pain, but no sound escapes their lips. With one final clench of his hands, silence falls. Izuku sees the villains floating on the water surface and flies toward Tsuyu and Minoru. Once he reaches them, Tsuyu asks if he's alright, and he pats her head again. "Don't worry about me for now. We need to find the others," he replies. Tsuyu wonders what their next move should be, and Izuku suggests they try to call for help. Tsuyu mentions that their teacher, Shota, is fighting a large group of villains in the central plaza. Izuku proposes they observe their teacher's battle and jump in to help when there are openings, though deep down, he feels a different motivation, his eyes and skin shifting as he thinks, "Kuruchi, when the time comes, we must end him." In the landslide zone, Shoto Todoroki easily defeats the villains by freezing them. In the mountain zone, Denki, Momo, and Kyoka battle their opponents. Momo creates an insulator sheet to protect herself and Kyoka, allowing Denki to unleash a powerful electric discharge that defeats all the villains. At the central plaza, Shota continues to fight the villains and finally faces the ringleader, Tamura Shigaraki. Shota manages to strike Tamura, but Tamura grabs Shota's elbow, causing it to disintegrate. Shota retaliates, knocking Tamura down and defeating two villains who attempt to attack him. Suddenly, a monstrous villain appears behind Shota. Near the exit of the USJ, Kuroji and 13 are locked in battle. However, Kuroji gains the upper hand by using 13's quirk against her, causing her to start turning to dust and incapacitating her. Tenya begins running toward the exit, pursued by Kuroji. Just as Kuroji appears before Tenya, Mizo jumps in to block him, allowing Tenya to continue his escape. Izuku, Tsuyu, and Minoru reach the central plaza, shocked to see their teacher Shota severely wounded on the ground after being overpowered by the monstrous villain. Tamura taunts the heroes, telling them to inform All Might that he is wanted by the artificial human, Nomu. The sight of this creature sends a chill down Izuku's spine, feeling its empty husk still moving. This is unacceptable to him, and he shakes with rage, emotions he thought buried rising to the surface. He feels his subconscious reflecting on his true self, realizing he might become something more than he ever imagined. At the ruin zone, Katsuki and Eijiro swiftly defeated the villains, with Katsuki dismissing them as weak. Eijiro suggested they assist their classmates, but Katsuki refused, insisting that they focus on Kurogyri, the League of Villains gateway. Defeating him would put the League at a disadvantage. Just then, a surviving villain attempted to sneak up on Katsuki, but he quickly countered with an explosion, knocking the villain out cold. Meanwhile, Tenya was trying to outpace Kurogyri. Near the exit of the USJ, Tenya was almost free when Kurogyri blocked his path once more. As Kurogyri prepared to warp Tenya away, Ochako seized the opportunity. She grabbed onto the plates around Kurogyri's neck, realizing they were part of his true form, and used her quirk to make them float, lifting Kurogyri into the air. Tenya dashed through the exit and raced toward Yue. After being thrown aloft, Kurogyri decided to alert Tamura and warped himself away. In the central plaza, Aizawa struggled to rise, severely injured, only to be pinned down by a Nomu that Kurogyri had summoned. "Have you dealt with the hero and the students?" Shigaraki asked, his tone impatient. "I managed to handle the hero, but unfortunately, one of the students escaped," Kurogyri replied. Shigaraki's frustration was palpable. "If you weren't our ride, I would have destroyed you. That brat's escape means more heroes will likely come, and that spells trouble for us. It's not worth it, let's retreat." Mineta, overhearing this, felt a rush of relief but accidentally bumped into Tsuyu, causing her to react with annoyance. "I have a bad feeling about this," Tsuyu said, glancing around. Izuku remained silent but focused intently on the situation. Shigaraki paused, then declared that before they retreated, they would take down the symbol of Peace's pride and turned his attention to the students. He approached Tsuyu with a grin that quickly vanished as he was suddenly pushed away, hitting the ground hard. The Nomu, gloating in the air, slammed down away from Aizawa, who was straining to pull himself closer to his students. Izuku, his expression unreadable, watched as Shigaraki finally got back on his feet. "Tsuyu, Minoru, take our teacher and get out of here," he instructed firmly. "But what about you? Don't tell me you're going to fight that thing," Tsuyu exclaimed. "Yeah man, that's suicide," Minoru added. Izuku's serious gaze silenced them, and they felt a chill run down their spines. "Just go," he urged. With that, they hurriedly helped Aizawa away, while Izuku turned his attention back to the remaining villains. My, I didn't know someone had a death wish so early in life," Shigaraki taunted. "Do you really think your little quirk is powerful enough to take on a Nomu that's on par with All Might?" Izuku suddenly met his gaze and laughed, a sound filled with rage and a hint of madness that echoed throughout the... Shigaraki took a step back, unnerved by the depth of Izuku's eyes, which seemed to reveal a hollow soul. "If you think you can win against me, think again," Izuku declared, floating into the air. He clenched his fist, causing the remaining villains to feel an invisible force tightening around their throats, making it hard to breathe. A sinister smile spread across Izuku's face as he yearned for their defeat, his skin growing paler. Just then, an explosion erupted nearby, and he dodged just in time. "I knew something wasn't right with you, Deku," a voice called out. Izuku's smile widened, but he had to refocus as the Nomu prepared to attack. Suddenly, it lost its limbs and collapsed to the ground, causing Shigaraki to erupt in fury, glaring at Izuku with hatred. Izuku felt close to breaking. He needed to end this confrontation now, regardless of the consequences. Suddenly, the USJ doors burst open, and Izuku's scream filled the air, causing everyone to cover their ears. Kurogyri seized the moment to escape, dragging Shigaraki with him. Izuku hit the ground hard and lost consciousness, but the battle was far from over. The heroes arrived, ready to confront the remaining villains. However, They soon found themselves and the students chained down, unable to move. Laughter echoed through the air, and everyone looked up to see a chilling sight. The Reaper himself, cloaked in black and wielding a scythe as red as blood, stared down at them all. "Now the harvest begins," he proclaimed. Nobody's POV. The heroes, the villains, and even the students felt an overwhelming sense of dread when they saw the one being capable of ending their lives with a mere flick of his finger. The Reaper, Death himself, had made his presence known, and as he clenched his hand, the chains binding the villains tightened, eliciting cries of pain and terror from them. The heroes struggled to break free, with all might pushing his limits to escape the chains, but to no avail. The Reaper laughed at their misfortune. "Such pitiful souls, why struggle? Do you really think you have any say in this world filled with nothing but corruption? All Might, remember what I said." He locked eyes with the number one hero, who widened his gaze in shock, prompting a faint smile from the Reaper. "So you do remember? Well, I suppose this is how I take it away." As he descended to the ground, he began to walk toward them, hearing the frantic screams of the villains who dared to curse him. With a simple gesture, several of them fell lifeless to the ground, their bodies crumpling as if they had been struck down in battle, leaving behind a chilling scene. A crimson scythe floated beside the Reaper, its master gripping the handle tightly. "You've done well, but your job isn't finished, my pet." He continued walking until he noticed an icy barrier forming around him, encasing him completely except for his head, as the chains binding the others shattered. "It seems you haven't checked if all of us were captured in your chains, Reaper. That was your mistake." Shoto Todoroki, using his quirk to encase the Reaper in ice, exhaled a breath of cold air. The Reaper merely stared at him and the rest of the UA students, along with the heroes. "It seems you've done a great job, young man. Now, Reaper, it's time for you to be cooperative and surrender." "And why would I do that?" He tilted his head toward the hero. "Why should I surrender to someone who's nothing but a liar? A fake. A mistake in this world." His words sent a chill down All Might's spine, as the other heroes ensured the villains were still alive. Suddenly, the villains began to convulse on the ground, and the laughter from the Reaper confirmed his involvement. All Might rushed toward the Reaper, but the villain merely watched as the number one hero attempted to strike him. Instead, he was struck by a chain and a scythe, causing him to stagger back, blood spilling from his mouth. The other heroes tried to retaliate but faced the same fate, finding themselves forced into a SBMSSV position. The students, even the bravest among them like Shoto Todoroki, Izuku Kirishima, and Katsuki Bakugo, felt paralyzed by fear, as if they had glimpsed their own demise in countless scenarios, silently praying for their survival. The Reaper effortlessly broke free from the icy prison, gazing down at the struggling number one hero. "You disappoint me, hero. All this power. And you couldn't even harm me. How pathetic." He placed his hand on All Might's chest, and the hero felt a wave of agonizing pain wash over him, unable to scream, only able to plead. The look in the Reaper's eyes revealed a satisfaction in taking away something precious. "Your pleading won't work on me, symbol of peace. It's too late. A year and a few months too late." He then produced what appeared to be a shining light surrounded by orbiting colored stars, sighing at the beauty in his grasp. "It's beautiful. Too bad you corrupted it, but don't worry, it will be useful for me." He began to float upward, looking down at the heroes who felt they had failed, the students who appeared traumatized, and the unconscious body of Izuku Midoriya, which made him laugh. "That I may have taken it, All Might, but that doesn't mean it's completely gone. Use what remaining sparks you have until you become something you once were." With that final remark and a snap of his fingers, the remaining villains fell lifeless, their bodies sprawled across the floor. The aftermath of that day was one that the heroes and students of UA High would never forget. They had faced something beyond human comprehension, something that had shown them mercy yet demonstrated its immense power by ending the villains with a mere snap of its fingers before vanishing from the scene. We cut to the police station, where Detective Tsukachi sat with Principal Nizu in an office. "Here are the reports from the incident at the USJ. So far, we have confirmed that approximately 74 low-level villains participated in the invasion. All dead, The students suffered only minor scrapes, but the teachers had it worse. Aizawa sustained serious injuries, including bone splintering in his left arm and facial fractures. It should take a few weeks to heal, but the orbital floor in his eye was completely destroyed, and it's uncertain whether his eyesight will be impaired once he recovers. Nizu nodded. I see. And what about 13? Tsukachi replied, despite some severe lacerations to her back, 13 is going to pull through. Nizu sighed with relief. I'm glad that Aizawa and 13 are okay. I just wish I could have provided them with additional support. Tsukachi reassured him, you didn't know this was going to happen, it's not your fault. Thank you, old friend. But what about our other problem? Tsukachi, yes. The villain known as Reaper has dealt with low-life criminals, including a creature one of the students referred to as a Nomu. He has also incapacitated most of the heroes, leaving All Might unable to fight back. Nizu, yes, it was quite tragic for the students to witness such a disturbing scene and feel powerless as All Might couldn't defend himself, along with the backup. This villain is rather cunning. Nizu sighed, a heavy breath escaping him. Just what kind of person are you, Reaper? Meanwhile, in a hospital room, Izuku Midoriya was sleeping soundly until he was startled awake by someone playfully pinching his nose, making it difficult for him to breathe. Is there a reason for waking me up, Kuruchi? Izuku asked, blinking as he focused on the girl now identified as Kuruchi, who giggled at him. I just find it adorable that someone so powerful can be so innocent, she said, her hand moving closer to him until he gently pulled her nearer, his expression unreadable. Are you doing this because you want something in return? He asked, noticing her cheeks flush with color and her eyes sparkling. And what if I do? She replied playfully, leaning in closer. Just then, the door began to open. Are you sure it's a good idea? Of course it is. It's been 2 days now, and I'm sure Midoriya is already awake. Besides, you're not the only one who wants to see him. I'm only here because you tend to overdo it, Ishido. 3 girls entered the room, Mina Ishido, Ochako Uraraka, and Kyokujaya. They turned their attention to the now-awake Izuku and Kuruchi, who was sitting beside him with a smile, though a vein was popping on her forehead. So close. So very close, she thought. Oh, Midoriya. You're awake. And Kuki, you're here too. I'm so glad you were able to watch over him, Ochako exclaimed, her warm aura enveloping the room, prompting both Izuku and Kuruchi to shield their eyes. So bright. So pure, they both thought. So how are you feeling, Midori? No more spasms? We were all really worried. Even Jairu was concerned about you, Mina said with a smirk, causing Jairu to blush. Ishido. Stop saying things like that. Izuku exclaimed, tilting his head in confusion at the situation. Girls are really a mystery. It wasn't long before Izuku's girlfriend arrived, and with visiting hours nearly over, the girls, along with Kuruchi, decided to leave the couple alone to spend some time together. But a few hours later, the sounds of distant cries echoed under the clear night sky, where the crescent moon shone brightly, casting its gentle glow over the city below. Many pro-heroes were present, responding to the calls for help from those who had lost their way and escaped their true fate. Fate had brought forth someone to confront those who did not deserve a chance at redemption. The Reaper confronted a villain responsible for the abduction of a young girl, missing for 4 weeks. With precision, he brought justice to the perpetrator while also locating the girl and aiding her in her recovery, both physically and emotionally. She was joyfully reunited with her parents, who were grateful to have their child back, though they were unaware of the one who had saved her, believing instead that an angel had come to her aid. The Reaper gazed at the crescent moon for a long moment. It seems the moon fascinates you, Master, Kuruchi said, transforming into her human form and leaning closer to him. I do find the moon's beauty breathtaking. It reminds me of the time my mother and I went camping and watched the stars, he replied. Kuruchi noticed a slight movement in his cloak, revealing a hint of a smile on his face, which made her blush. Then maybe when you finish your work, we can all go camping and enjoy watching the stars, she suggested. That would be nice, but there is no end to the corrupted, the Reaper said, his gaze shifting to a few pro-heroes nearby, Their intentions not pure. More souls that need to be dealt with, he added. As he spoke, he held Kuruchi gently, causing her to feel a thrill as she transformed back into her scythe form. The Reaper then moved towards those who did not deserve to live. It was time for the students of Class 1A to return to their classroom, eagerly awaiting news about the day's events. Hey, did you watch the news last night? Hagakure asked Shoji and Ojiro. When they nodded, she continued, Did you see how everyone in class was on screen for a second? I didn't stand out at all. That's true, Shoji agreed. Ojiro jumped a little, recalling the images of the girls in Class 1A. He pointed out, It's hard to stand out looking like that, huh? I don't see the big deal about it, Kaminari said, leaning back as he shared his thoughts with Kirishima. I was surprised, Kirishima replied. Can you blame them? The hero course that keeps producing pro-heroes was attacked, and we almost faced death ourselves, Jiro explained, shivering slightly as the class felt a sense of helplessness at how the Reaper had dealt with the villains without hesitation. Who knows what would have happened if that Reaper had come after the teachers or us? Zero sighed. Stop that, Zero. Just thinking about it is making me anxious. Mineta exclaimed, jumping in his chair. Shut up. Be quiet, scum. Bakugo yelled back at him. A groan came from Izuku, who was being poked by Kuruchi. You doing all right, Izuku? Asked Ochako Uraraka, ruffling his hair, which elicited a satisfying sigh from him. Just tired, that's all, he replied, glancing at his phone and seeing messages from Reiko, which made him smile faintly. Everyone! Morning homeroom is about to start. Stop talking and take your seats. Ida shouted from the front of the classroom. We're already in our seats. You're the only one who's not, Zero commented. Ida sat down in his seat, shaking his fists in frustration. Shoot, he groaned. Don't worry about it, Ochako comforted him, turning her attention back to Izuku, as did Kuruchi. Who? Ashido began, leaning back in her chair until she leaned too far, prompting Azui to catch her. Dot is going to teach homeroom today? The door opened, revealing Aizawa, wrapped in bandages from head to toe. Morning, Aizawa muttered through the bandages. Aizawa-sensei, you're back too soon, the class exclaimed. You're too much of a pro. Kaminari looked horrified, while Kirishima nodded in approval. So you're all right, Aizawa-sensei? Ida raised his hand. Can you really call that all right? Ochako asked behind him. Forcing yourself to teach isn't logical, sensei, Izuku said. My well-being doesn't matter, Aizawa replied, making his way to the podium. More importantly, the fight is not over yet. Fight. Bakugo smirked. Don't tell me, Izuku muttered. The villains again? Mineta stressed. The UA Sports Festival is drawing near, Aizawa informed them. That's a super normal school event, the class shouted. That's a super normal school event, Kirishima repeated, but was cut off by Kaminari, who put his hand over his mouth. Wait a minute, Kaminari said. Is it okay to have a sports festival so soon after the villains snuck inside? Jiro asked. What if they attack us again or something? Ojiro added. The administration believes this is a good way to show that the threat has been handled, that our school is safer than ever, Aizawa explained. Plus, they're increasing security compared to past years. This event is a huge opportunity for all students at UA. We can't cancel it because of a villain attack. Why not? It's just the sports festival, Mineta said, looking worried at the thought of another potential villain attack. Mineta, Izuku turned to the boy sitting behind him. Don't you know how important the sports festival is? Of course I do. Mineta replied, small beads of sweat forming on his forehead. I just don't want to get hurt. Just you wait, you mischievous boy, Izuku thought, his expression becoming serious. The UA Sports Festival is one of the most watched events in the country, Aizawa said, raising his voice to end their chatter. When it comes to competition among future heroes, the UA Sports Festival is #1 in Japan for viewership. That's right, Momo agreed from her seat behind Mineta. Top heroes from all over the country will be watching. This is an event where you can get scouted. Yeah, unless you're in danger. Mineta retorted, still uneasy about the event. She's got a point though, Kaminari chimed in with a grin. After graduation, a lot of people join pro agencies as sidekicks. Yeah, but that's as far as some people ever go, Kyoka remarked, glancing at the blonde. They miss their chance to go independent and stay eternal sidekicks. Actually, that's probably where you're headed. You're kind of clueless sometimes. Oh. Kaminari pouted at the critique. It's true that getting scouted and joining a famous hero agency can provide more experience and even popularity, Aizawa admitted to the class. That's why this festival matters. If you want to go pro one day, this event can open up doors for you. You get 1 chance a year, 3 chances in a lifetime. No aspiring hero can afford to miss this festival. Which means you can't slack off in your lessons or training. Am I clear? Yes, sir, the class chorused. Several hours later, after their modern literature class with Cementos, the bell rang to signal the students' lunch break. Class 1A was buzzing with excitement, still discussing the upcoming sports festival. Some were eager, others were anxious, while a few seemed indifferent or were skilled at hiding their feelings. I am so pumped for this festival, Kirishima exclaimed, clearly part of the excited crowd. Heck yeah! If we put on a good show, we're practically on the road to being pros. Ciro grinned at the redhead, sharing in the enthusiasm. That's why we're all here in the first place, right? Sato added, punching his right fist into his left palm. We get so few chances, so we have to make the most of this, Tokoyami agreed with the others. I'm kind of jealous, Shoji. Your quirk is so unique, you'll definitely stand out, Kaminari said, glancing at the Dupli Arms user. Possibly, but what matters most is showing the pros how useful I can be, Shoji replied, brushing off Kaminari's envy. He believed that results were more important than just being noticeable. No doubt you'll make a scene too, Kyoka teased Kaminari, reminding him of his less-than-graceful moments. Kaminari grumbled at the playful jab. Izuku observed his classmates, feeling a weight on his shoulders as he looked up to see the cheerful face of Ochako Uraraka. Let's do our best, Izuku, she said with a bright smile. Izuku felt a rush of warmth as he gently placed her beside him, causing her to blush. Sure, let's do our best, he replied, trying to keep his emotions in check. Kuruchi joined them, wrapping her arms around Ochako. Yeah, let's do our best, Ochako, Kuruchi said, and both she and Ochako raised their fists in determination. Everyone, I'm going to do my best, Ochako declared, a pink aura of determination radiating from her. Yeah, several students echoed, raising their fists in support of the suddenly competitive brunette. I said I'm going to do my best, Ochako repeated, her enthusiasm infectious. Are you okay? Tsuyu asked, tilting her head curiously. At lunch, Izuku found a quiet spot in the courtyard where Reiko was reading a book, with Kuruchi joining them. The trio settled under the shade of a tree, and Izuku gently laid his head in Reiko's lap. She smiled softly as she ran her fingers through his hair, a moment that didn't go unnoticed by Kuruchi, who smiled at the scene before her. Chapter end.